What is going on, guys? Another day of making a YouTube video. I should really find out what day we're on. I've started doing this thing recently where I'll just turn the camera on and just speak what's on my mind, because for so long, so many videos, well, at the start I planned my videos, so I'd say, I'm going to speak on this topic. And then, as you guys know, I kind of fell off a little bit, and it would just be videos at the end of every day saying, sorry, I'll try and provide some value. And now, I just want to be more raw. Just see whatever comes up. And if there's ever any topics that you want me to speak on, I'll be sure to speak on it. Like I said, the reason why a lot of the videos weren't as good, not only because I've had a lack of time, not only because I've just put a lack of effort in general, but also because I had a storage problem. My storage kept running out, so every time I'd make like a 7-minute video and it would stop, say 3 minutes in. But yeah, it's Sunday. I've been and trained shoulders today. We're back on the bulk. I think I'm about a month in. Yeah, probably a month and a half into the bulk so far, and I'm still reasonably lean. I've done a bulk before where I've got kind of chubby, kind of fat, and I didn't feel good about myself. Although I put some muscle on, I didn't feel amazing. So as much as maybe by the end of this bulk I may be a bit chunkier than I'd like, I want to try and stay lean for as long as I can. But yeah, I had a good training session, been training hard, and I said something on my Instagram story. If you guys aren't already, you can follow me down below. I'm always on there. I literally speak on there all day on my stories. You'll see my day-to-day life, my morning routine. And I said on my story, I said, find your thing. And what I started talking about was, have that thing in life where you can kind of escape the world. That thing what just gives you peace. That thing what turns this thing off. Because life can be overwhelming. There's so much shit going on, especially with the politics and problems in the world. We take a lot of it on board, and if you don't have that one thing where you can just step away from the world, I feel like it can be really overwhelming. I know it is for me. When I rest for 2 days, I start to feel it. I'm like, what's missing? Why do I feel off? It's because I haven't worked out. That's what gives me peace of mind. And I'm not saying that's going to work for everyone, but for me, it's a massive thing for me. I'm so thankful that I found working out at a young age, because I think I would have gone more downhill. I think if it wasn't for wanting to stay in reasonable shape, I think I could have ended up going a lot more downhill in terms of drugs and alcohol. Because I'd get to Sunday and I'd see my physique in the mirror and I'd think, fucking hell, all that work you put in this week to throw it down the drain. And then maybe the next weekend I wouldn't go out. Although it was obviously a vicious cycle for 7 to 8 years. But yeah, Sundays, man. Sundays used to be horrible days. Honestly. Like when I say crying in my bed to myself every single weekend, that's not an exaggeration. It near enough was every single weekend. It's crazy how life can change. I felt like giving up so much. I didn't want to necessarily kill myself, but I couldn't see a way out, and the only option to escape the way that I thought in my brain was to erase myself from the planet, and that's dark, man. It's a lot of the reason why I created the personal brand. It's a lot of the reason why I started coaching people, because I was one of them people who grew up and I had everything I ever needed. I used to hear people, when mental health first started coming to light, probably when I was like 10, I started hearing it a lot more. Whether it was just more pronounced then, more people were talking about it. I never used to hear it before 10. I'd say to myself, or I might have said to my dad, if I remember right. No, I think I just used to think to myself, like, mental health. Like, I think you're just using this as an excuse because you're lazy, or... I just couldn't imagine being anxious to walk into a room. Although I was insecure and anxious, I didn't know what it meant at the time. I didn't know how I felt because I was a small child. I don't know why I went off on this rant, but... Oh yeah, that's why I created the personal brand, because I know what it can feel like for your mental health to go downhill. Someone who thought they didn't have any issues. Someone who thought it was normal to abuse drugs and alcohol for 7 to 8 years of their life. It's only over the past 10 months of deep self-analysis that I've realised, man, I had a lot of fucking problems. And that's just the reality of it. The reason why I had to go and meet friends all the time, I had to go and drink and use drugs, is to escape this thing up here. I've never been at peace in my life, ever. I'm used to chaos. It's all I've ever known. So for the first few months of sobriety, it's like, okay, for the first month it's cool, it's good, you feel healthy. And then your brain starts craving that chaos. It's like, I'm not used to this. Why is everything going reasonably well? Why is everything so peaceful? I don't like this. I like noise, I like chaos, because I want to run away from my brain. And now I love peace. I think a lot of the reason why people can't sit with themselves is because they're hiding things from themselves. Many people can't be honest with who they are, why they've got to where they have in life, because it's fucking hard to be honest with yourself. Very, very hard. But as Carl Jung said, until you can face your shadow or your unconscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Funny that. I got fate tattooed on my neck about 2-3 years ago. It's one of my main tattoos that I regret. Not necessarily because I don't believe in fate, but I think with moving more into Christianity, I think God creates your fate. I think because I've thought about it before, like, if I believe in fate but then I believe in God, is that contradicting itself? And I don't think it is. I think for starters, someone can see fate and think, oh, you're seriously spiritual, and you just think your fate is however it is. Like, your fate will just happen to you, your life will just happen to you, and you have no say in it. This is a hard subject, but I think it could be changed to fate in God. I'm not going to change it to this, by the way, but it could be changed to, like, God directs our fate. It's an interesting subject, isn't it? Because if you don't believe in God and you don't believe in fate, then you're going to think, well, what the fuck are you on about? But if you believe in God, and does God direct our fate? I'm not here to say I have things figured out. I'm just here trying to figure the things out. You know? There's things I do have figured out. I know how to get you into the best shape of your life. I know what worked for me to get me out of addiction. I know that a lot of people need to be completely open and honest with who they are, but I don't have everything figured out. And everything comes down to a matter of perspective, because someone can see my neck tattoo and think, oh, you're just this spiritual guy, and these very closed-minded people might think, oh, what the fuck do you know? But I had a conversation with my barber the other week, and we were speaking about God, and I was saying that a lot of people who I know who don't believe in God, their life isn't as good. And he said, well, why do you think that is? And I said, because there's no consequence for their bad actions. And that's interesting. Think about that. If you never have a consequence for the bad things that you do in life, if you never feel like something's watching over you and there's no punishment at Judgment Day, then what's the reason to be a good person? Deep question. But yeah, I'm getting this, I'm covering this fate and this, my star sign. That was one of my first tattoos. I'm covering that with the Virgin Mary, so it'll come down here. And I'm going to fill this out with, I think it's called the Sacred Heart, because that's where I'm at in my journey right now. I've moved from believing in God to following Christianity, and I'm going to start studying the Bible. Yeah. I've been going to church every morning, not with anyone else, not to masses, just simply to get my peace first thing in the morning, because not only, which is what we started this conversation on, not only does the gym, working out, give me peace, but aligning myself with God first thing in the morning also gives me massive peace. So yeah, like I said, I'll be covering that with the Virgin Mary at some point. And you guys don't have to agree with me. This is the thing about the world, we don't have to agree on everything. But there's no reason why we can have disagreements and still not work together for the bigger cause. That's the problem. You know, we've got the left, we've got the right, and they're all arguing about one thing. But what about if we put our disagreements aside and work together to build a country that we all want to live in? Interesting. Started this video with no topic at all. Gone from how Sundays used to be, how you should find your thing, how I've moved from fate in a spirituality meaning into fate in God, believing that God creates our fate. Interesting. Anyway, guys, it's Sunday. As you guys know, I work Monday to Saturday, literally 12 hours a day on my phone. The only piece of time I take for myself is going to the gym. So, since it's around 3 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon, I'm going to go and have some Sunday lunch in my house. I'm going to get a shower. I'm going to read, because it's another thing that's been giving me peace recently. And yeah, I'm just figuring out the world as it goes on. We'll never have the world figured out. We'll never agree on absolutely everything. But if we can work together to make each other the best we possibly can, and to be as positive as we possibly can, then that's all that matters. Guys, see you in tomorrow's video.